So welcome everybody to the August SNAP meeting. Wayne,
Hello. I'll go over the plans for the upcoming Sister Cities, Magdeburg, Nashville shows, plural. We got the prints that we ordered back from Safelite. Went and picked those up on Saturday. They look good. And for those Nashville photographers that had their photographs ordered through Safelite, if you want to contact me and arrange a time to come look at the prints, I've got them here at my house. Feel free to do that. You're welcome to come over and take a look at them and see how they look, see what you think about those. Turns out with the total cost per print, including taxes, was $16.38. We've also ordered the frames from Michaels. I should get those tomorrow or the next day, and the cost of the frames was $12.28 each. And I'll send a follow-up email to everybody, with the exact cost. And you can either, I paid those, so you can send me a PayPal or a Venmo and to reimburse for however many frames you got, however many prints you got, if you got any. And I'll send that PayPal and Venmo information out in the email. We're going to have a framing party at Diane Ware's house. I don't know where that is, so I guess I need to find out where that is.
Somewhere down in the Brentwood area.
Okay. And we scheduled it for Saturday, September the 2nd. We don't have a specific time yet, probably in the morning, if that's okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these frames that we got from Michaels, and it'll be mostly the Germany prints, the 24 Germany prints that we'll be putting together and framing, and then also any Nashville photographers don't want to have their prints and frames put together there. We can do that as well. So we've got that tentatively set for Saturday, September the 2nd, with September the 9th. Also, as a backup if we need to. And so we'll need some volunteers to help do the framing.
So even if you weren't in the show and would love to come help us frame, you can let Wayne know that.
Right. And again, I'll send out an email with like a volunteer list that you can respond to for that. And let's see here. So we've got, looks like we've got the display grids arranged. I've got 3 2x6 metal grids, and I think we have 6 others that we're gonna.
Well, excuse me for interrupting, but we've got Diane Burgett here on the line, and she's got another set that she's loaning SNAP. Yay!
Right.
Thank you, Diane.
3.
Yeah.
And Jen Vogt is going to loan us some of her grids too, so we're set.
Yeah. So we're probably going to need a total of 8, and we've got those all arranged, so that shouldn't be a problem.
I think you're missing the main headline news that the general people will be excited about, if I can just jump right in.
Okay.
Taylor Arts loves the idea of this show, so instead of it just being the third Saturday from 4 till 8. No, they're gonna have this as part of their opening reception the night before Friday. And leave it up in this wonderful space all the way until the Oktoberfest show starts. So we will be setting up at 100 Taylor Street in the Arts Market Thursday or Friday to be determined, but in time for the Friday opening reception. And then, you know, the whole art crawl thing will happen Saturday, and then all the photos will be there all the way up until the Oktoberfest, which is the first weekend in October. So everybody wants to probably add some of that to their calendar.
And then I just thought about this last night. I think I told you, Anya from the Magdeburg photo group is planning to visit Nashville at the end of September. So the show should be up in 100 Taylor while she's here. So I'll get to take her.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, yeah.
Get to take her out there and show it. If you want, I've got it's called The Space. It's a space inside 100 Taylor. If you want to let me share screen, I can show people this website.
Oh, let me see if I can do that. Share screen. Hang on. There you go.
People see that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the space where the exhibit will be at 100 Taylor. And what we're thinking is that we'll put the grids in one line. So it'd be about 16 feet between two of those large wooden columns.
Scroll down a little bit more. There's an undecorated picture right there.
Mhm.
See how it's real open and you can see the
Yeah.
poles. Anyway,
Right.
That's beautiful space.
So that's where we'll be from roughly the 15th of September through to the first week of October.
All right, you gonna stop sharing? Okay, good. So that's the pressing news. I want to make sure we have time for Diane for Joe to have her show. So I'll run through some of the other dates for you guys. Our September meeting, we will have Emily Neff discussing how she selected all these things. So that ought to be excellent. And that'll be on Zoom also. And a little reminder that if you want to enter the JCC, which is one of our premier shows, the deadline is at the end of this month, September 1. So we've gotten quite a few gorgeous things already. I think that our juror, whose name is Michael Dubose, is going to have a big time selecting the 40 for the JCC. So that's immediate deadlines coming up, or reminder dates. And October is going to be real busy. Y'all have seen those dates, November and so forth, but I don't know that we need to get into that unless you all have some questions or comments about anything that's coming up. I actually looked and realized that Magdeburg, the Sister City show, is going to have a third venue at the Hotel Preston, and there will be a opening reception for that on November 13th. So y'all got plenty of times to come and see this international show, and hopefully it'll be the first of many with Sister Cities now that we've working out a lot of the kinks.
We may also have a fourth show with us out at the Southeast Community Center out in Antioch.
That is way off in the future, and we may use the community center for something else. So But who knows? Stay tuned. Any questions from folks?
Did Hotel Preston specifically ask for this one, or this was just like a filter?
Well, Hotel Preston is in, we are now more or less their resident artists. Snap is. And so they are of the changing out exhibits about twice a year. So that's why they're this. At one point, we weren't sure we were going to have any venues, so we mentioned it to them, and they loved it. I mean, they've got all these travelers, and they love the idea of showing Germany with Nashville. It really fits a lot of what they want to do. So, does that answer your question?
Yep.
So we'll do something else with them once this comes down, but
I
yeah.
mean, usually the JCC goes up there too, you know, we usually rotate that in somehow if we can.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
that's a tentative plan. We'll see. All right. It's 10 till 7. I feel like we want to get started with Joe, who needs no introductions. I think everybody that's on here has worked with Joe, shot with Joe, seen Joe around, and is so happy to be celebrating with her all the things that she's got going on, being in the slow exposures coming up and being honored with the critical mass selection. And I am particularly interested to see you pulling this together.
Me too.
There was that wonderful work session when she was early in the stage of this project. Y'all, projects don't just happen overnight. And I'm eager to hear what Joe has learned from the experience of the workshop, where this show sort of started, although it has roots prior to that, but pulling it together and your thoughts for that. So how taking these photos and turning it into a wonderful visual story is what Joe's going to share with us tonight. So Joe.
I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
All right. Very good.
All right. Can everybody see a PowerPoint?
Yes.
I use PowerPoints because I forget what I'm going to say if I don't have a slide to tell me. So pardon me if if I know there's been several people who are, oh, PowerPoint, anyway. Okay.
And we'll all mute. Joe, we're going to all mute. And so we won't be saying anything. We'll be oohing and eyeing in our own living rooms.
Okay. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to tell you about the portfolio development workshop that I went to that kind of ended up pulling all this work together and then putting it out into the world as the instructor said. And somebody, for me, I'm going, why am I doing this? I don't like doing presentations. But when you experience something that had a significant beneficial impact, it just feels important. It's a part of a pay it forward, so to speak, thing for me. It feels important to share that learning. And so that hopefully anybody, can, if you went, I don't want to take a portfolio development workshop. I don't know what that is. I've got some pictures that I'd like to put together, but I don't know what to do with them. So I didn't either. And so, anyway, I'll explain it. And so this is where I want to go tonight. I'm going to introduce you to the workshop. I'm going to tell you what we did before. I'm going to tell you some things that I think are prerequisites to you taking a workshop that, would help you in that workshop. And then I'm going to show you kind of a walkthrough of the different sessions and what the outcomes were for that. And then that's where I'm going to start kind of lessons learned of what during the class, what did I learn and what were some realizations I had? And then after, what did I do with it? And then, if we're still in time and we want to, I'll walk you through the presentation I created that's of the series and that would tie it all up in a bow. So All right, let's see, let me find the next screen. All right, the instructor was Susan Bernstein. It was offered online by Southeast Center for Photography, and it was a 4-session weekly workshop. Susan does offer different versions of this, and she some of them meet monthly. So if like you're creating a new series, you need time in between to really go take more shots or refine it a lot or whatever. So just letting you know that she has other ones. I mean, it's not a regular thing at SEC4P. And then the price will vary by location and length. Like, I think I saw one at Santa Fe workshops and one at LA photography workshop. So again, just kind of hunt around. You can search for her name if if you can, if you love her work like I do. And she was a great teacher. I really felt like I learned a whole lot. Okay, so there's kind of the intro. All right, so my sitting around before I taken this workshop, I had an archive of images that I wanted to make into a series. And I wanted to understand more about selecting and sequencing images. And sometimes they call it editing, as far as this selecting and sequencing. So it's not processing your photograph. If I use the word editing, in this case, we're talking about constructing the series, so to speak. And my output for this, I just wanted to make a little book of images for me, So I had a higher number in mind than just, I wanted like about 25. It was my goal. And this workshop was online, and at the time I was working, and so I was able to work it in as a long lunch. And I was trying to make, the bigger, more personal aspect was that I was trying to make sense of, I was trying to figure out what this thing is doing there. Maybe that's better. I was trying to make sense of images that I'd been taking for the last few years and try and weave them together somehow so that they made sense. I felt like I was, how you get attached to a single image and you just, I love that one. And it's harder to see them broadly, and hard to see how to put them together sometimes because, they're like your children, you want to enjoy that one image, and it's hard to figure out how to put them together. And again, Susan Bernstein is one of my favorite photographers, so I jumped at the chance to have an affordable class with no travel. It was I just couldn't believe it. And also, it terrified me to have to do this class. So that meant I should do it and I would grow from the process. To me, I've gotten to where I try to do things that I'm afraid of. Does that make sense? Because it'll help you in the long run. Any questions thus far? I'm going to guess no. Okay. So some of the prerequisites that some of them I didn't really realize until I'd gotten into the class, and some of it was in preparing for it. But you want to know if you're going to try and create a new series or create a series from an archive of images. That's pretty logical, but it's a big point of, do you go look back at stuff, or do you have to go out and shoot more images once you've come up with a concept that you want to do? And then you want to know how to process images in a consistent way in your chosen style across several images. That was a big thing on this one because, as we learn how to edit across the years, we tried this and we try that, we do different things. And so I had to go back and re-edit a lot of my images to be that consistent approach. And then they started making more sense together. So just, and maybe you just process color, you don't have to worry, or black and white, and you don't have to worry about it. But I had kind of taken a lot of detours anyway. So it's helpful if you've created some smaller bodies of work before you go into a bigger one. I had a few event-driven series. In other words, like I went out one day and I created a small series, and then I did one over time about a particular subject matter. But again, they were more simple things rather than going back to your archive of hundreds of images and trying to figure out what fits together. And then think about how many images you need to tell your story. What do you want to use it for? Do you want it to only be for submissions to competitions that asks for portfolios? Do you want to go to a gallery? Do you want to, what do you want to do with it? Kind of think about your, and go ahead and think big, you never know. And it's real important that when you're doing a lot of this image manipulation and back and forth with the instructor, you need to know how to resize your images and, zip them up to a zip file and submit that way. And that can, take a little while sometimes. So it's important to kind of know the basics of that. And then, you want to think about, what are you trying to say with your work? What's important to you? I know like Al has been doing this lovely barbershop story of kind of trying to capture all the barbershops in the South before they're gone. Wayne did his wonderful Mississippi trip. Sharon's doing her succulents in the desert. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of types of work like that. And you got to make sure you know what you're trying to say. And that was I thought I did. It turns out I didn't really, and Susan really helped a lot with that. And again, the final one is select a workshop that you align with. If I chose someone that I just thought their work was great, and you might look at it and go, that's a little extreme for me. Find somebody that you feel like would be a good teacher for you. Okay. All right. So here's the prep, and then weeks 1 through 4 of what we did. She sent you a questionnaire, and then you were supposed to prepare images for submission, and it was 12 images. In the email that they sent, you defined the goals for the class. The class size was, I think it was about 8 to 10 people. I think it might have ended up being 8. And then the first class, of course, she introduces herself, and we went through all these different photographers and trying to identify what makes a great photograph. What are you looking for to put in your work that already exists, so to speak, and that you can learn from. Then we reviewed the initial set of work that we had submitted, and that was very humorous because since I was still working, I had told her I need to, they were asking, does anybody need to be, finished by the end time? Because sometimes they go over, and I said, well, I've got to get back to work. Well, they go, well, okay, let's go ahead and head on in. Oh, Joe, you're first. So here I am, I'm meeting Susan Bernstein, one of my idols, for the first time. And I don't know any of these people in the class. And I get to go first. They show my work first. Okay. Anyway, it was really interesting though, because the way she would kind of describe everybody's work. And we talked about all these different concepts of this, of things like subject and narrative, mood, emotion. What are you trying to say in it? And one thing that I thought was really great was that she gave photographers with what she thought was a similar style to yours, or that you could aspire to be like based on the work you have now. I'll say it that way. And Masao Yamamoto was one she said for me. And it was just a wonderful adventure to go look at his work and learn from that. So again, that was a big learning point. As we reviewed all the different photographers' work too, is really fascinating to see all the different projects that they were coming up with. Some were very quirky and unusual and really interesting. I don't mean that negatively, but it's like, wow, I never would have thought to do that, and some were beautiful, and some were, more maybe a little darker or sad, but it was good. They were really interesting. So you learned a lot from that, of how other people put things together. So she basically depending on whether we were creating new or whether we were going, doing archive, like some people, she said, go take 2 or 3 more images. For me, she said, go bring me 15 more, or something. And so I ended up basically submitting about 25 at that point. And then we started working on our artist statement for the project. We looked at sample artist statements and what made them good and what structure we needed to have. We talked about the difference between an artist statement and a project statement, which that one still confuses me. And we talked about a bio and a CV. Our goal was to end up with this, what you'll see later, if we have time, of the presentation, and it's going to be a PowerPoint because during the pandemic, people couldn't get together for portfolio reviews. So they got to where they had this electronic method of creating a PowerPoint, basically, or some method like that, and then putting it in a PDF. And that's what got sent to galleries and things. One of the things that we did then is that we had a session outside of class with another participant to review this questionnaire that we'd done. Oh, I'm sorry. And talk about, all the questions there and share our stories, so to speak. And that was really interesting as well. And so then through this process, we're continuing to review the work, and we're removing and adding images and working on our artist statement. And then we kept the third class, we were kind of going, okay, the end is coming. We got to get this all put together. So then we talked about sequencing and our bio and our CV. And then we did a final review of everything. We were supposed to have had our PowerPoint submitted, and we reviewed them each. And then we found out how to do a contact sheet in Photoshop, which was actually pretty easy, but I didn't know how to do that. And then she added us to her Facebook group, and that's been really fun and helpful. Okay, so that was the class. And during the class, I felt like the class was the springboard kind of and a catalyst for change, of me seeing my work in a new way, so to speak. And I had been kind of stuck, and I didn't know what I wanted to do next. So this workshop, I realized, was what I needed, and I didn't really know it. And I was glad I had jumped in, even though I was scared. So I created a series, just like I'd said, and I used that then. I can call from that series to, for series-based or portfolio call for entries. Those are usually like 6 to 10 images. And again, I wanted the 25 because I wanted to do a little book for me. I'm not going to go into this part too much, but it was really profound for me looking back over the images and putting them into a series, and as learning from the other artist statements and things, because I realized, oh, I've been working on a long-term project that I never even really knew I'd been doing. And that photography for me has always been very therapeutic and everything. And I was healing from grieving through photography. And so I just felt like that was really powerful to kind of realize that that's what it was about, not just, oh, I'm going to go out and take some pictures. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, that was really good. And getting that feedback from other students as well as Susan was unbelievable, because she has this breadth of experience where she can just look at a set of pictures and go, and know what to do with them all. And she was very good about, there was a lot of different levels of photographers in our group. And she was excellent at taking and valuing each one, and very good about saying, you need to do this to get you to the next level. And each person, she she had this, again, breadth of experience is all I know to call it, that she could help each person at their level. And so that was really good. And this was a tip from Emily that helped a whole lot. But when sequencing, especially when you're doing like 25, images, it helps to print your photos on a 4x6 so you can kind of lay them out and easily play with them and arrange them. And you're looking for the sequencing was interesting because I started looking at shapes differently and whether it was light or dark and where was it going and what was it similar to make sure I either paired it or I didn't pair it, if it was too similar, so to speak. And then, it was good to have, Emily mentioned that we had talked a couple of times. It was so helpful to have, feedback from like-minded photography friends to be able to help move me forward when I was panicking between sessions. Okay. Let's see. So after, it's, when the rock goes in the poop puddle or whatever, and the ripples start happening. This was just really, I had not ever had anything like this happen. And it shows you that when like last year I submitted a couple of things to a couple of places and they didn't get in. And I thought, okay, that's the end of the road. I don't have anything else, that's it. And so this was creating a new road basically for me. And it's been very, the ripples are still going. So anyway, the Facebook group, she introduced us to things like, oh, go submit to the Daily Photograph. Oh, go submit to the photo review. She puts calls for entry in there. And so you have this ongoing support system, with her. She features people's work, and mine got featured. And so all the people who've ever been her students are in this Facebook group, and so it's just this big community that you're building, and it was really cool. And so, again, based on her recommendation to get this work out in the world, I submitted to Julie Margaret Cameron and was able to have an honorable mention in the Nature Series non-professional. And then I submitted to Slow Exposures, and Jerry Atnip selected the project for the pop-up exhibit in September. And a pop-up, Slow Exposures is a regional Southern photography photo festival, type thing. And this is their 20th anniversary. And so it's a big deal this year to be involved in that. I'll just say it that way. And they're doing a whole lot of extra stuff. And it was really funny because when I saw the announcement that it's like, I was at the end of the list and it was one of those where everybody above me, I knew their work. I loved their work. I couldn't believe that I was actually going to be in, in a big show like this with them. So I'm really thrilled about it. And true to my original statement, I did create a blurb book, and I've also created what they call it, a zine these days. It's like a magazine, but you can create them at much, like the books, the photo books, the lay flat ones are so expensive. So I did a zine, and those are like, you can get a lower cost per item on that. So I've printed some, I've got some of those for the exhibit, as well as it's going to be like 9 or 10 framed images, and then I'm going to have prints and stuff for sale. So I haven't done a show this big in quite a while, so it's been a lot of work, and it's been a lot of fun. Then I did go ahead and enter this. This was one of the things I entered last year and didn't get in, and went, well, okay, it's just not going to happen. And I couldn't believe it when that came out. So anyway, I was really thrilled about that. For those who don't know, Photo Lucida is a organization. It's a 501(c)(3), so it's it's not a business, so to speak, but their whole goal is to promote emerging and mid-career artists and Critical mass is this big thing that I don't even know how many entries there are. But if you're a finalist, you're in the top 200. So that tells you it's a lot of people then it are basically. And the top 50, they'll announce that in September. And I have no expectations of being in that at all. I'm so thrilled just to even be in this. It's really great. And then it's a long story I won't go into, but I'm going to have an online solo exhibit in October of this work again with A. Smith Gallery in Johnson City, Texas. So again, it's just been one of those that I just can't believe what has happened, you know. Now, I wanted to just show that this is the set of images that I submitted to Critical Mass because I figured somebody would ask me what, you know, anyway. So these are the images for that, and you'll see them again if you want me to do the PowerPoint for, you know, that I created in the session, in the workshop, I can show you that as well. Is that okay for me to move forward with that? Or are we needing to? I'm going to assume yes. So, all right. So this is the PowerPoint I created. And excuse me, this thing keeps bothering me. I'm going to go ahead and display this as well, I guess. So the goal of this is to kind of have your title page. And I call this Notes from the Universe because I feel like sometimes when I go out and photograph that I come across these scenes and I just can't believe that, you know, time and whatever has interacted such that I'm there at that moment. You know, it feels like I'm meant to be there, and that you know, I've learned that I just go with that flow, and if it feels important, you know, to me anyway. So I won't, you know, go into the whole thing with the artist statement. It was more about how going out for walks in nature were helping me heal from the grieving of my parents dying, and then the whole pandemic thing. It became nature has always been really important in my family and my life, and so it's just one of those things that has helped me a lot through a lot of, you know, that and photography, you know. And so when I combine those, that's just the perfect combination for me. All right. I'll probably kind of tell you the title of it, and if there's any, you know, story behind it, I can give you that. But mostly I think I'm gonna kind of go pretty quickly because I don't want to, you know, again, belabor it with 25 images, you know. This was I call this one, you know, there's one at the end and this one, these are my anchor images. To me, this is the inspiration in a way for the whole series. I was in a lot of these are in Warner Park. But I was walking along and I see these little tags floating in the breeze on this tree that's a good distance. And I go over and I just thought they were so beautiful. And I read the notes on it and it said, "Thank you for being so ... And this is like in the middle of the pandemic. So I just thought that was really cool that somebody had taken the time to tie these little notes on and sort of have a gratitude practice in times of loss. This image is called We Are All Connected. And it's if you notice the vines that go all the way through it, I just feel like in times of a lot of division, it's good to see where we connect still too. And so this is a kind of a metaphor for that. That moment when a bird takes off is just always so, you know, I had been trying to take a picture of this owl and then all of a sudden it took off. And at first I didn't like this image because it had some blur to it, but then I decided I liked it because it showed the movement. This is called Forest Evolving, and you can see the old stumps here, mature trees in the background. And then also this kind of new, fairly new growth coming up to kind of replace where these stumps were. I call this one mobile home. I just love seeing this little snail going along this grass and leaving his little trail, and surrounded by the, you know, almost the forest of grass in relation to him, to the snail. This is called Guardian of the Forest. I just saw a face here and it looked like one of those Lord of the Rings trees that walk, you know, and go everywhere. And this was again at Warner Park, and I turned down a trail, and all of a sudden there were these two deer there, and I just thought they were so sweet. It looks like, I think it's a son and a mother. This was one of those where it just struck me how tenuous this feather was attached to this plant, and how beautiful it just looked like diamonds in the sun with all these tiny water droplets on the feather. And that feather was maybe a half-inch long. And then with the kind of silhouette of the hills of Warner Park behind it. I've renamed this one recently. It's called Wild Onions now. I started to call it Bad Hair Day, but thought that, but it's onion grass. And this is the moon, and we were at the Parthenon, and it was a photography group trip, you know, outing or something. And I forget what we were trying to take. Maybe it was a super moon. And all of a sudden, as I was walking, the trees aligned, and it looked like they were holding, you know, the moon. And I just thought that was really cool. This one is called Broken. It's at the Organic Garden at Warner Park. It had just rained, and all the water drops were on their mesh fence. I thought they were really beautiful. And this is the Cornell. There's some. It's an airport, an abandoned airport, and I was there on a really cold, gray winter day, and it looked like, I don't know, this reminded me of Chinese writing or something. I don't know. And I just thought it was really pretty. This one was taken during the pandemic as well. And, you know, there were just some days, excuse me. I call this one Waiting to Bloom. And this was during the summer, and it's called Suspended. We were all sort of suspended in time, and it just felt, you know, it was a very uncomfortable time. This one is called Flipped, and I just loved the way the light hit that plant. These mushrooms are not even an inch tall. They grow overnight, and as soon as the sun hits them, they just melt back into the mulch. I came back down this trail an hour later, and they're just completely gone. But I call this one a family portrait. Looks like, you know, parents and the two kids. And this one I just thought was a beautiful reflection. And, you know, this is like the Harpeth River, and it's hard to find it that still if you go to the Harpeth River very often. And this is one where I just, again, love to see birds in flight, and this is a favorite row of trees in Warner Park, and they just always seem to be relating to each other, and I love trees in the winter. I call this one Sway because the wind was blowing, and you could just, you know, feel it, you know, pull you. This one is called Yoshino because it's a cherry tree that's out by our house. And this is, again, some more trees in Warner Park. Again, I just love the way some days the light and the clouds and the mist and everything converges on these areas. This one's called Traces. I like when images are not just of nature, but you also see the impact of man on nature, or that people have been here, so to speak. This is a peony. And then this is the last image, the anchor image. And this is Cades Cove in the Smoky Mountains. And several of you have heard this story, but anyway, I'll do it again anyway, because I think it's funny. I was trying to take a picture of this, trail leading off to the mountains, and all of a sudden these hikers start coming in across the land there. And I was all grumpy. Oh, there was people in my pictures. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, how many thousands of years have people been going off into the mountains, and there was something very timeless about seeing those people interacting with the land and with the mountains. So, and then here's this is the being able to show the person you're trying to show everything all together at once. And so this was that, I can't remember what to call it, a photo sheet or whatever. And then this is my bio. And this is a CB. And what she wanted done is just like for you to say high level what you've done. Like on my website, I've got it where I put pretty much everything there, and I try and, maybe roll it up over time or whatever. But she wanted it brief here for someone. And then she wanted contact information. And that's the end. And I can't figure out how to, there. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Or anything else they wanted to see? Emily, you're muted.
Those were excellent, Joe.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I just get emotional about this work, so I apologize for that, but
It shows in your photos. This was the most lovely set of prints, and they were all you.
Mm.
They weren't just the land or the deer or the whatever. It just really, wow. I bet people have a lot of questions, but mainly I guess that we probably just want to tell you how beautiful this project turned out to be.
thank you. Thank you.
And Joe, hearing you talk about your personal relationship to each image and how it came out of yourself has just been, I mean, I've seen your images, but to hear that story with each image has just been really moving. Thank you.
Okay, I was worried. Thank you. I was worried with 25 to go through that, y'all, everybody get bored.
No, oh, there's no boredom in this.
Beautiful work. So, do you mainly edit into black and white? I noticed they were all black and white.
Yes, is the short answer. It's one of those that sometimes I shoot in black and white. It's I have a digital camera, but I like to shoot in black and white. But when I get back and start processing, sometimes they go, no, I'm not going to be a black and white. I'm going to be a color. But I do mostly black and white. I don't know what it is. I just have always loved black and white.
I think black and white is more dramatic. I shoot mainly color, but I think black and white is more dramatic than color.
I think it's more abstract, and you see more, I don't know. I look more for shapes and for, I don't know, relationships or whatever. Color is I've heard it's harder, really to shoot color well. But I don't know, I've just always related to black and white. And once I started shooting black and white, it just has gone even more.
it seems like they're a different shade of black and white.
They are.
They're-
It's a long story, but basically it's supposed to look like platinum palladium, which I
Right.
have no
Well-
idea how to do, but I love the look of.
So did you
I
set
always
up a
love the, like the
template?
wet plate collodion stuff, and I don't know how to do that, so I fake it.
Was it a preset that you
Hmm.
used?
It depends. I've been trying different ways of doing that. So you can use it. There's a color. I'm sorry, my Photoshop words are leaving me today, but there's, hue and saturation. There's a preset I learned in a Photoshop class, and I've adjusted that a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm using now. It just makes it just a slight bit warmer. It's really more what I like about it. And then most of my images, I use some textures on. I just want to give it's a mood, I feel like, for me, that I want to, sort of like fog enhances an image. It's sort of like that.
It also looked like you might have some of these were with some of your special lenses, like the lens
Oh, yeah.
baby, maybe
Yeah.
a couple of them that look, yeah.
Yeah. I shoot a lot with the Sol 45, which I've broken now. And I've got to get repaired. And then some of them are, I don't think I had any, I've done lens baby velvet before, but I don't think I have any of that in here. I use that one less. I like the Sol 45 and the double glass. They just recently came out with a double glass 2 that's similar to the Sol 45. That's good too. And you can change the aperture on it. So that's nice. You can't on the Sol 45. It stays, fixed at 3.5 or something. But it gives you a sharp focus in whatever you want to really focus on, and then blurs out. And I also like the Fuji 56 and the macro lens, as you might guess by a lot of the close-ups. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's one of those where you just go, God, I can't believe these things are happening, with all this. I don't know.
Well,
It's been fun.
It's just amazing how what you said at the outset, that this workshop, you didn't know at the outset of taking the workshop, but you said at the outset of this presentation was how getting in depth with this one project, these series of photos, has led you to have all kinds of other opportunities to share your work.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been recognized all around the country, all around the world now, Joe. We're thrilled to have you here. And that leads to the next question of, does this feel like, the 25 you picked out fit Notes from a Universe? Do you feel like there are other chapters for Notes from a Universe? Is it going to be going wider, broader, deeper, or a whole new direction?
Yeah, I
How
haven't
are you
gotten there
feeling?
yet. I will recommend that you not try and do 25 images in your first one. I ended up, it's been trying to make sure they're all ready for print when I don't have as much experience printing, and yet you just keep working with them. And the slow exposures, again, getting everything ready for that, because again, there's some high cotton there this year. Whew. I don't know if any of you follow like Sal Taylor Kid or trying to think of other names. That's one of the big ones that I just kind of went, I can't believe I'm in a exhibit with her, So yeah, it's just been one of those things that felt the rock in the puddle is, or in the, the pool, the pond, it just feels like these ripples keep going. And again, this work, I've been working on it since, so one of the images, I think 2015, the mobile home one is 2015. And there's a couple from each year, on through pretty much. And, you were asking me more because I have a lot more images that I felt like fit. And, and of course you can't monopolize a class that way. You'd have to have, do your own thing. But, when I put some of those in, Susan would come up with, well, no, that doesn't go with that. And that doesn't go with that, so it's one of those where I just, again, whatever she said, I did it.
I don't. Okay, three things. So first thing, I know you said that you can believe that you were in a show with, I can't remember what the lady's name is, but your work stands by itself. It's good by itself. So like, I wouldn't even worry about who I'm in the show with. Just do your thing.
Yep. I'll have to do that. Thank you, Giselle.
No problem. There's something else you said. I can't remember. Oh yeah, you said things just keep happening, but that's just a testament of your persistence. Like you just keep
Yes.
going, you keep trying. So
Yeah.
I mean, as long as we keep doing things, things will happen. They may not happen in the time and space that we, want them to, but just keep being consistent and persistent, then things will happen. And there was something else. What was the last thing you said?
You mean next work or whatever? Or
I can't remember. I don't know. I lost that thought. But if I remember it, I'll say something else. But yes, thank you for sharing. Appreciate it.
I'd like to note there are 4 from our group that are going to be in the main show at Slow Exposures this year.
Sandy, Al.
And Bill Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So
Mhm.
y'all are, wow.
Yeah.
So, Al, do you have a project like this in the show?
He did a pop-up last year. So
I
Oh,
did
okay.
barbershops last year.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I didn't get selected this year.
Oh.
I submitted churches painted white, but it is Jerry didn't select that one.
Well, I wish we could be in 2 places at once and see this show. Joe, you will have to find some venues for you closer to home.
well,
I see-
Sandy has been doing has been helping me with the slow exposures piece because she's done a pop-up before. So I've been asking her about it. She's going, well, you ought to get the library and do this and do that, and so I might try some other places local
Yeah,
and see
yeah.
what I can do. So that'd be fun. But yeah, it's been a big hill to climb and a lot of work, but it's really been very rewarding to to see something through. Does that make sense? And again, it was very powerful for me to pull all that work together and see what it meant to me across all of it.
Mm. Well, I see there's comments in the chat too that are basically like people are just giving you praises, and now I can't get the chat up. It says I'm chatting as a guest. I'm not chatting as a guest. I want to see what the chats were. I've seen the chats come flying through and people are saying they are, way to go, Joe. So I want to make sure you
Thank
knew
you.
that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I just remembered the other thing. You said that the teacher or the instructor was telling you that she didn't think something fit. But if you if you feel strongly about it, I don't care what that lady says. You put it in there.
There's a quote by Keith Carter. If you don't know who he is, you got to go look him up. He's a hoot and he's a fabulous photographer. But he's an educator as well. But he says, just take the picture. You got the rest of your life to figure out what it means, type
Right.
thing. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, I've thought that at some point I would go back and kind of assess that and see if there was, I mean, nobody gets shows with 25 images anyway, but for me, it would be fun to kind of try and either add to it or I don't know, make some sort of assessment.
Yeah, and then we also like change our ideas on what we like and what we don't like all the time. Because like I've
Mhm.
taken some pictures 5 years ago. I was like, man, what is this mess? And then like 5 years later, I'm like, oh, I really like this one. So
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of what the Keith Carter quote is about, is that, sometimes you have to grow, you take a picture and you have to grow into it. Does that make sense? And that later you come back and go, oh, I see what I was doing, so. But anyway, thank you everyone for letting me talk about my work. And
Thank you for
appreciate
sharing.
Thank you.
your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was outstanding. And we look forward to seeing your book, your zine, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That sounds great. I saw Carl pop in here briefly. I was going to ask if he had anything to add. We've had people, I don't think he's still here, but does anybody have any last thoughts or questions before we head out?
is anybody showing anywhere? Because I was gonna tell y'all I have some photos at Cheekwood. I had some at the Black Arts Bash along with Kim. I think they're up to the
Awesome.
31st in the, what is it called? The Frisk. The building is next to the mansion. It's like the Frisk Community. Yeah, I
Frisk
don't know.
Learning
Yes,
Center.
yes,
There you
yes.
go. I always mess it up. Thanks, Kim.
Mhm.
What are the dates of those? Sean, can you?
I think it's up to the 31st, but I have to check.
And that's the one at the Frist or the one at the Black Arts Festival?
I mean, it's at Cheekwood. I'm sorry, it's at Cheekwood, but
Oh yeah, Cheekwood.
Cheekwood has the Frisk. Say what it is again, Kim. What is it called?
The Frisk Learning Center.
Right. So it's the building next to the mansion.
Right.
Right.
I may
That's
have
the
to
old carriage house, I think.
Yep.
that they've observed. I saw that was happening, and I didn't realize both of you were in it. That's terrific. What else? Keith, you've got a show coming up.
I do. I have a show that is a solo show at the Pyro Gallery in Louisville. It'll run from September 1st to the 24th. And it was sort of an accident, literally. My sister-in-law broke her arm, and she sent me the x-ray, and I just winced in pain looking at it. And I thought, I gotta artify this and make it happier. And so I did, and sent it back to her. And then her husband had a total knee replacement, and he was having a very difficult recovery. So I took his black and white and put color in it and made it optimistic and hope to heal. And then Lynn's friend broke her wrist playing pickleball, and did the same thing for her. And then all three of them had them framed and hung in their house. And I thought, well, maybe I ought to take this more seriously. So that's going to be my show. It's called Bone Stories. And in every one, there'll be the original x-ray with the injury, and then the art x-ray that came out of it, the imaginative one. So
That's awesome.
Okay,
It's part of the Louisville Photo Biennial that's every 2 years, and every gallery has photography in town for 2 months, is it?
yeah, so if you all don't know about the Louisville Photo Biennial, there's all the galleries, there's 60 galleries that are all showing photography of one kind or another. And it goes on for about 2 months, and since it's every other year, I always have my solo show at the Art Co-op match up with the Photo Biennial.
I've got 2 images opening in this weekend at Cartersville at the Booth Western Art Museum.
Oh, wow, Al.
It's
Wow.
they have a guild, a photography guild. It's really a learning group. It's not like a photo club or anything. And they have a main exhibit every year during the fall. And then they have 4 shows at a local, that right down the street from the museum is what they call the downtown gallery. And they have 4 shows there a year. It's a nice group to belong to. They have something every week. Every weekend they have evaluation of images that people submit and so forth.
So this is in Cartersville, Georgia, or?
Yeah, Cartersville, Georgia.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff in Cartersville. They got a brand new automobile museum. There's a couple of other museums there too. It's just a little town, kind of like Franklin.
And they have a 60
Emily?
gallery.
I just sent you an email that has my press release for the photo biennial. I don't know if you can get to it or not.
And it has some of the images too.
Yeah, the original X-rays and then the.
Well, as I look forward to looking for that. I'm techno challenged in terms of trying to do 2 things at once. That wasn't on text. That was in
I sent it on email. I sent it to you.
okay. I'll look for it there. I'll share it further forward. You know, it sounds like we've got such a lively group of photographers here that somehow we need to get the word out to each other so we can support each other and get inspired by each other. So do we have a volunteer that will pull together all the things that we just heard tonight? We've got Keith, we've got Al, we've got Deshawn and Kimberly, we've got Joe.
I think there's some things I forgot. There's a lot of public art contests in Louisville. And I have a number of images where you get actually paid for this. So they'll take your image and they'll print it on large canvases and put it on big double doors or signal boxes, or I just had a huge one on a renovation of a building. I can send you those images too, but I have 5 or 6 now, big public pieces now.
Oh, that's exciting. All right, so this is not punishment for showing up tonight, but Lee Ramsey, do you have time to pull together some of these things?
I think I will pass, but thank you, Emily. I've got some
Chuck
things going
Ritchie.
on right now.
I'm just going down the list here. Chuck Ritchie, do you have time to pull together something like this for Snap?
I'm a little tight right now. I got some things going on out of town, so traveling makes it difficult to do projects like that.
Yeah. Okay, who is Ken over here? Not good at. How about Pat Hollander? Do you have time to pull together just a list that we can email out to everybody so we can all, and maybe we can just keep this going?
I would, but I've got family issues I've got to take care of right now.
Oh, that's right. You do.
So,
And I know Kimberly and Deshawn are crazy busy. I just skipped over you. And Diane, you're already doing this for another group. Okay, Al Levinson, can you pull together?
I'm afraid I can't do it right now, Emily.
All right, so we have we will just I bet there's somebody in the group, if we just put it out to say, would you, oh, I didn't ask Sharon. I know you got 1 or 2 things going on too, don't you? I bet there's somebody in the group we can say, do we have a volunteer to pull all this together?
Can we copy and paste, like if everybody has a link to what they're doing, can they copy it and paste it and put it in the chat, and then we could just copy and paste that list and send it out to the group? Is that even possible?
Oh, well, for the people who are here, yeah. I'm about to close down the Zoom. Do this, copy paste, send it to Emily Passano, gmail.com. And I will simply not edit it or do anything and make it pretty or anything. I'll just turn right around and send it on out to folks.
So send it to
So
where.
that's Deshaun, we need your information. I've already gotten some of Keith's, Al's, and Joe. Who else?
I have a new website which has which just came out about a couple of weeks ago. So I mean, it's still Auerbach Photo, not photography, auerbachphoto.com, but it's totally rearranged.
Well, send me the link and I'll send it out to everybody.
Public art on there too.
Yeah, I think it would just be fun because Snap's got a bunch of stuff going on and we tell each other, and then I promptly forget. I need it in writing. So, all right. Well, I guess that's it for tonight. We will, I guess, remind everybody in closing, if you're submitting photos for the JCC show, get those in by the September 1, and then stay tuned for all the other happenings that are coming up. Thank you, Joe. That was fabulous. I'm so inspired.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Beautiful work.
Beautiful work.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.